Welcome everyone, I am Horny Alf, and welcome to my channel. We're going to be doing a reaction stream today, which is very different from my channel. I am a gaming YouTuber who does gaming streams, and that's the main reason why I got turned on to Warhammer. So I recently have been playing uh, Space Marine 2, and Darktide, Warhammer Darktide. And both games are amazing. I love playing as a Space Marine. I love playing in Darktide, fighting the zombies of Nurgle. Also, this is what got me into watching lore videos. I've had people talk to me about Warhammer in the past. I had no idea what they were talking about. They were spouting off different terms, didn't know what was going on. I got into the games, then I went and found somebody named Bricky who does Warhammer videos, and I saw his Warhammer 40K timeline explained. Now, I watched that and I was enthralled. Now, I'll put it this way. I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. And getting into this universe, because Lord of the Rings has been around for like 80 something years. And getting into this universe, the amount of lore and content, and this is going to be controversial, the amount of lore and content blows the Lord of the Rings away as far as the sheer amount of content. And I am digging it. I'm so excited. I want to watch these videos. I want to get into more lore. We're probably going to do this once or twice a week. So stay tuned. I'll make announcements on my community page on my YouTube. But stay tuned. I want to get into this, so let's go ahead and get it started.
As someone who doesn't necessarily serve the Omnissiah, but someone who can appreciate them, you will not be getting my legs today, as I will be replacing them with various things depending on which faction we are currently talking about to add a little bit more context and possible comedy to whatever the hell I am currently doing. So, hello everybody, my name is Bricky, and this is going to be...
And hey, everyone, please go check out Bricky. He does amazing videos. He inputs a lot of humor into his videos. This stuff is crazy. I love watching his stuff. Like I said, I've only seen one of his videos, but I looked at his catalog of videos, and we're probably going to dive much deeper. And like I said, I know barely nothing, just surface level because of his video and talk from other people about this universe. But we're going to dig a lot deeper. I'm going to do the videos, and eventually I've heard of another YouTuber called Luton. We're probably going to get into his videos. He's a little more serious. He probably dives a little deeper because Bricky, based on his first video, he seems to be very surface level, but he wants to interject it for a, new person, a noob to this world, which is great. You got to have those people, but you got to have the people that do this super deep dive. But let's go ahead and continue. Yes, please go watch his stuff. Go sub to his channel.
A long video and a large project that has been going on for quite some time. This is, I need two hands for this. This is every single Warhammer 40K race in kind of a nutshell, explained, a little bit of explanation, a little bit of lore, a little bit of talking about the tabletop, mostly lore, what they're all about, and also a little bit of background for those.
So, I've never done the tabletop. I've seen people do it. I've seen people do the painting. I've seen people do streams where they paint their tabletop figurines. It seems interesting to me. I don't know if it'd be something I'd get into, but I love the little figurines. It's so cool.
Those of you who just have no clue what Warhammer 40,000 is. Now you see, Warhammer and Warhammer 40,000 is a universe people hear plenty of but don't know a whole lot about. They see, oh, there's these dudes in big power armor with
Space Marines
swords, and they got these big old green orcs, and there's some bugs
I've heard of the
over
orcs
there, and everyone calls these guys weebs, and then there's these spiky bitches over here, and I don't get it.
I don't know who they are.
Where do I start? Well, this video is particularly for you, or for those of you who have a little bit of knowledge, but you're kind of curious about each of the different races and factions in Warhammer. So,
very little bit of
Warhammer
knowledge.
Universe is that.
Okay, so that's the Shit. That's the Warhammer universe. It encompasses, I assume, the entire galaxy based on his video before. That's crazy.
When it comes to lore and background, and each different faction is so different with the things that they believe in, and some are human, some are transhuman, like where they all have
Ah, the Cult Mechanicus. I heard about them from his last video, the timeline video. They are wild. That is crazy. But it's so innovative, this whole timeline. This whole universe. Alright.
all these crazy ass electronics on them. You've got aliens and you've got the chaos factions, and there's so much to entail.
Chaos.
I decided to embark on this project to tell you what each and every single one of them is about, and what the Warhammer universe is about as well. To give
And
at
Bricky,
least a little bit of an intro to
I'm
this
ready to dive in.
extremely bloated but very, very
it's a big
enjoyable
universe,
world
for sure.
that I and many others partake in. So I will be explaining every single faction in the Warhammer 40K universe, at least all the factions you can play as, and some smaller factions here and there. I will not be discussing absolutely everything in it because that is a little bit much, and I'm not going to go too mega deep into the lore. I'm going to give you a pretty solid overview of each of the different factions and have you learn a little bit about them, and we'll discuss a little bit of the tabletop as well.
So this goes back to what I was saying. Yes, he puts everything with a comedic, spin on it. But he puts everything at very surface level, which is great for people that are new, just coming into this universe, and I appreciate that.
In case you were curious about that. But for this episode entirely, we are discussing the Imperium of Man, because that takes up a fat chunk of Warhammer
Oh,
lore.
wow.
Oh, boo-hoo!
So I get the inclination that the Imperium is kind of the center focus of this universe as far as storytelling. I know that there's a lot of novels and books surrounding this universe. Is there books that focus solely on other races other than the Imperium? Let me know. Also, if you have any suggestions for videos going forward, put them in my comments of this video. I would appreciate it. I'm gonna do as much deep dive into this universe as I can. So anything people in the audience can put in my comments, I will take a look at.
What is Warhammer 40,000? Well, the 40,000 starts off is the year 40,000. The 41st millennium, that's where it takes place, is in the year 40,000, 40.
Oh, I gotta add, when I first heard about this universe, people were talking about it, and I heard that it was in the year 40,000. That was a little, I don't want to say off-putting, but it was overwhelming that far in the future, because most sci-fis are not that far in the future. That seemed crazy to me, but once I saw Bricky's video explaining the entire timeline, that was a rise and fall, and then a rise again of some sorts, I was hooked. So
41,000 AD. You're already more knowledgeable. Let me read you a quote, first of many quotes in this video. It is the 41st millennium. For more than 100 years, the Emperor has sat immobile on the golden throne of Earth. He is the master of mankind by the will of the gods, and master of 1,000,000 worlds by the might of his inexhaustible armies. He is a rotting carcass, writhing invisibly with power from the dark age of technology. He is the carrion lord of the Imperium, for whom 1,000 souls are sacrificed every day so that he may never truly die. To be a man in such times is to be amongst untold billions. It is to live in the cruelest and most bloody regime imaginable. These are the tales of those times. Forget the power of technology and science, for so much has been forgotten, never to be relearned. Forget the promise of progress and understanding, for in the grim, dark future, there is only war. There is no peace amongst the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsting gods.
that is freaking amazing. In his timeline video, he explained that this world is just awful. for every participant in it, and especially for humanity. 99% of humanity lives a terrible existence, and it is a world of regression, a world of, intolerance, a world of people just trying to get by in the worst possible situation. It it's fascinating, and there's no limit to the amount of evil factions. Like, everyone is a degree of evil, is what I understand about this universe.
Everything blows.
Exactly.
And it blows fucking hard. Warhammer is probably the most dark and depressing universes ever in fiction, or at least like top 3. Everything is so absurdly horrible,
those mechs are awesome,
or overpowered that it all kind of ends up canceling itself out. It's like Dota. War rages across the galaxy. Interstellar travel is only possible due to sacrificing 1,000 souls a day to a...
That's one thing I learned in the last video. The warp is a disaster. It is basically hell. It wasn't always that way, but it became that way because of the war in heaven and the elves, elf/space elves/Eldar. It just became an awful place, and traveling through the warp is a very dangerous, very, tricky thing. But yeah, it's so cool.
A rotting carcass of a man who you believe to be your god.
That picture's
Demonic
awesome.
gods and just demons tear open the fabric of reality on a whim. Other Xenos or even other humans.
All right, so he's got the Eldar up. I can't wait. So we're only doing part 1 today of his video. I can't wait to see the Eldar, because space elves, I know there's possibly multiple factions of the space elves. We'll see when we get to that, but yeah.
Humans end up killing each other in untold billions across the galaxy. It is a time of unending war, slaughter, and a bloodbath amongst everybody. Planets are deemed unrecoverable and are completely destroyed on a whim.
What the hell?
Everything sucks. But that's
so you're telling me they can destroy planets?
See, everything in Warhammer is evil. But being evil is kind of fun. Like, humanity in its own right is a xenophobic, prejudice, and religious zealot group that kill each other just as much as they kill all of their enemies.
But the way I understand it, let me pause that. The way I understand it is they're not even the worst. They're not even the worst of the races. That's crazy.
Mid to high tier evil on the evil scale of Warhammer.
Exactly.
Nobody is good. No matter who you are, everyone is some flavor, some color of evil. Whoever you pick, you are going to be the bad guy. But that's the fun of it. Because being the bad guy is badass. Villains are cool. They look cool. They got cool outfits. They got cool weapons. They got cool armies. Villains are cool, man. And when everyone is a villain, everyone is pretty cool. That's what makes it so charming.
Basically.
Is that
who wants to be the goody two-shoes? You be the bad guy.
So let's start off talking about the main bad guy, quote unquote, the Imperium of Man.
His hair, whack. His gear, whack.
Introduce.
The Imperium of Man is the main empire of the human race. All of humanity is under this one flag called the Imperium. And about 10,000 years ago, there was a man. He was the Emperor. The Emperor of mankind.
The Emperor of Man.
10-foot-tall psychic demigod who led humanity.
That's another thing. I don't know. So in Bricky's last video, he didn't state a lot about the Emperor. I'd like to know more about the Emperor. If you have videos that explain, or you know of videos on YouTube that explain who the Emperor is, what his backstory is, if they even exist, if that is out there, let me know. I want to know more about him. He seems, based on the previous video from Bricky, that he may be like a god/demigod, or I don't know, but he seems pretty awesome. So yeah, let me know what you got as far as videos.
Across the stars to colonize tons and tons of worlds, create superhuman soldiers, and really bring humanity into a new age. This man, the Emperor of Mankind, was a psyker. And a psyker is like a magician of sorts. in the world of 40K, there is the warp, the immaterium, kind of like hell,
Yep.
but sort of like a purgatory dimension
Or the chaos
of
is-
hell. And a psyker is someone who can take that power and manifest it through their mind to use it to do stuff, like witchcraft stuff, magician stuff,
He
spells,
siphons it
lots
from
of
the
other
warp.
things, but we don't want to get too into that. The Emperor, big boy psyker, top tier, A+, maybe even S. Now, the Emperor created a bunch of sons. Yes, created a bunch of sons known as the Primarchs. He created 20.
Yeah.
18 Primarchs.
He did that in
to
his
have
last
them
video.
Lead all of the different legions.
And I understand, someone was telling me, I think I was watching other reaction videos to the timeline thing. Someone was saying in one of the videos that the reason he said 20 and then 18 is at 20, they leave 2 open and it's more for the tabletop. So people can potentially create their own legion. Yeah, and that's a common thing, is what I understand. That's a common thing in 40K, is that there's a lot of variables, things that could or could not be true, and they leave it open because it's a tabletop, and they want, you know, that kind of flexibility with the universe. So,
of humanity to the different stars and plans to help colonize and bring it out. These Primarchs are basically like little versions of the Emperor. Not all of them are psychers, but a lot of them are very, very powerful, and they lead
Gulamon.
these special Space Marine legions. Then this big clusterfuck happened called the Horus Heresy. Where
Oh,
the Emperor's
yeah.
favorite son, the Primarch.
I learned about the Horus Heresy. It was crazy. And I've heard in his video, he said there's 50-something books. Now I've heard there's up to 60-something books. I would love to get into those books. I'll be honest. Are those books on audiobook? I'd love to be able to check that shit out. So,
Primarch Horus ended up joining Chaos and leading 9 of the 18, half of his Primarchs directly to Earth to fight down the Emperor himself. Now, if you want to know what Chaos is, remember what I mentioned earlier? The warp, that immaterium, the hellish place?
Yep.
In there relies the 4 Chaos gods. Imagine like Satan and
yeah.
3 other Satans. The warp being kind of evil, those Chaos gods, that's the reason. And so those Chaos gods manipulated Horus, and then Horus helped manipulate all 8 other Primarchs to lead this giant coup directly on the Emperor on Earth.
and the way I understand it is not all of the Space Marine Primarchs knew that they were being deceived. But by the point that they had turned on the Emperor, it was too late at that point, so they had to just go with it. That's what I'm understanding. If I'm incorrect, let me know in the comments.
And they fucked up shit. After this huge civil war, Horus died, but not before brutally wounding the Emperor. And right at the end of his life, they put the Emperor on this large golden throne on Earth, in which he is now alive, just barely, but slowly rotting away, powering something called the Astronomicon, so long as
he stated that in the timeline video.
1,000 people a day. The Astronomicon
That's insane.
is like the...
I've also heard from people that are very well... When I watched that timeline video, I've heard from people that watched that are more versed in 40K than I am, that it's more than 1,000 by the year 40K. So, more like 10,000 or something like that.
North Star. If you want to do interstellar travel in 40K, you need to pass through that demonic warp I mentioned earlier. But how do you know where you're going? Well, the Emperor is...
Oh, and I've also heard people talked about the movie Event Horizon. In the movie Event Horizon, they open a portal into basically hell. And a lot of people are like, well, that movie could be in the same universe as 40K. Because it's basically the same thing. They traveled into hell. It's the same concept. Now, whether it officially is a different story. But I found that interesting when someone connected that to me.
There, putting a nice little navigator right there. He helps navigate you to know where you're going. If you want to go from Earth to some crazy solar system across the way, you need to go through that warp and then you need to know where you're going, go through there, and pop your way out. It's like doing nether travel in Minecraft, so you can shorten the distance.
That's what he
between
said
going
in
to
the
areas.
timeline
So
video.
long as the Emperor is alive and being fed 1,000 people a day to stay alive, you can do that. The moment he dies, interstellar travel is
It's
gone
over.
for all of humanity. You're so boned. Now, since the Horus Heresy 10,000 years ago, the Imperium has fallen from grace substantially. All technology has started to dwindle and die. There is now giant fundamental religious extremists that now believe the Emperor of Mankind was a deity, a true living god, which is probably the last thing the Emperor would have wanted to be remembered for. So now you have this thing called the Ecclesiarchy, which is this giant church entirely devoted to spreading the
church
good
of the
word
Emperor.
of the Emperor. He is now the Holy Emperor God, the God Emperor of mankind, and all of the Imperium has taken up worshiping him to the fullest extent and killing anything that isn't humanity in his name.
And dude, that is absolutely insane. Now, it's not insane. We've seen stuff like that on Earth in years past, but it's still freaking insane. Yeah. And I love the art. So anyone can tell me the art that he's been showing, is that all stuff approved by Games Workshop, or is that like, fan art, or is it stuff from books? I don't know. That's all the art he's showing is amazing.
Imperium has this futuristic gothic tone to it and a hefty religious zealotry to them. If you think anything against the Emperor, that's heresy and you deserve to die. That is called being a heretic. Heretics die in 40K. There is no such thing as freedom of religion. There is no such thing as freedom of speech, so long as you are against the Emperor. There is no such thing as any kind of tolerance.
For the Emperor.
Everyone is a religious zealot. Some more than others, but no matter what, you're preaching that good word.
You serve the
So
Emperor
right
or
now,
you die.
Everyone in humanity is trying to expand their empire across the stars. If you are a heretic, someone who doesn't believe in the Emperor, you are deserving of death. If you believe in the
I saw the heretics in the in Space Marine 2. It was the heretics that served Zinch. I think that's how it's pronounced. The Thousand Suns. Yeah, but that was cool.
Chaos gods, you are also a heretic and you deserve death. If you are an alien race of any kind, you are a filthy Xenos and you deserve death as well. So long as the murder continues and humanity expands, the Imperium of Man is very, very happy. However, the largest fighting force of this Imperium is my personal favorite faction, and the first faction we will discuss, the Astra Militarum, or also known as the Imperial Guard.
Pretty shit now, man. You finished.
Game
The
over,
Imperial
man.
Guard is the main fighting force of the Imperium.
So I saw the Imperial Guard in Space Marine 2, and it's, well, I'll let him talk to it, but yeah, we'll talk to it in a second here. But that they seem pretty cool from a certain perspective, but I'll talk about that in a minute.
Imperium, and in a world of horrifying creatures, galactic monstrosities, the literal demons themselves breaking through the fabric of time to kill you, the Imperial Guard are untold billions of regular men and women wearing modern day like flak armor with a laser rifle. This is the humble las gun, the main weapon of the Imperial.
I've used that in Warhammer Darktide. That gun, I love that gun. I play as the veteran in Warhammer Darktide, and that gun is freaking amazing. I love it.
Imperial Guard. It fires superheated plasma lasers at an extremely fast fire rate. It is reliable, never jams. It can blow off limbs, giant holes in concrete. It is overall an extremely devastating weapon in modern day. It is one of the weakest in the 40K universe.
Holy shit.
A laser rifle that never jams, it can blow off limbs, one of the weakest weapons. That's the world we're in
What
right now.
the
But
hell?
who cares? Because the Imperial Guard has, in each battle, 500,000 of these men and women. 30,000 large
Wow.
armored tanks, 10,000 artillery batteries. The Imperial Guard wins through sheer numbers and firepower. They kind of have this World War I, World War II style aesthetic.
I like that
with
aesthetic.
Legions of guardsmen as well
It's
as
crazy.
high company commanders and generals on the field along with them, and multiple kinds of troops. A normal Imperial Guard battle starts off with artillery, long lines of artillery, cracking the crust of the planet underneath the enemy's feet.
Crap.
And as this barrage continues, hundreds of thousands of guardsmen, a sea of guardsmen surges forward, firing and charging at everything possible.
Wow. I
While
like the way he
planet
describes it.
rumbles as tanks roll up behind them. Gunships block out the sun and tanks block out the dirt with the steps and hoofprints of millions of guardsmen. It is through numbers and sheer sundering firepower. They are the first
Wow.
and last line of defense for the Imperium and make up a huge bulk of the battles. The Imperial Guard is also made up of tons of different kinds of regiments. The Catachin Jungle Fighters live in a death world that's more hospitable than almost any firefight they'll ever get into.
So they're
they
basically
have
a Rambo.
this steroid-looking giant
They're
knife,
Rambo soldiers.
Predator-looking
Yes,
sons of
Rambo.
bitches, where nothing is anywhere near as scary as a simple knight on their home planet. You have the Valhallan Winter Soldiers who haven't felt their toes in 300 years, the Mordian Iron
Okay.
Guard.
So those last ones, they look like Russian soldiers during World War II. These guys look like soldiers from, I don't know, the 1700s of France. Worried about looking pretty more than fighting.
Who are more interested in making their shoes shine than actually
Exactly.
fighting a battle. And then, of course, the big one, the Cadians from...
All right, so I heard about the Cadians. They were the ones that were in Space Marine 2, the soldiers that are there. I've also, when I was playing in Warhammer Darktide, I picked Cadian because I saw Space Marine 2, because I played that first. So I picked the Cadian as my veteran soldier. And I understand they're warrior worlds where they are from almost like Sparta. From very early age, picked out to join legions to fight. So that's pretty cool. I'm into that.
Cadia. The biggest
Also, if you know videos of the backstory behind what happened to Cadia, let me know. I am super interested in hearing that backstory. I like Cadia. I like the whole philosophy behind it. They seem like a Sparta of the Warhammer universe, so let me know.
export of guardsmen in the entirety of the Imperium. You will fire your first gun at 5. You will disassemble and reassemble it at 10. You will have pounding artillery drills day in and day out at 15. And you'll fight your first Swarm Lord at 16. And if you mention Cadia, you will burst into an unrelenting amount of tears and sadness.
I want to know what happened.
To quote, I have at my command an entire battle group of the Imperial Guard. 50 regiments, including specialized drop troops, stealthers, mechanized formations, armored companies, combat engineers, and mobile artillery. Over 500,000 fighting men and 30,000 tanks and artillery pieces are mine to command. Emperor, show mercy to the fool that stands against me, for I shall not. The Imperial Guard are my personal favorite faction in 40K. They're the army I collect the most, the ones I enjoy playing the most, and the one I enjoy in the lore sense a lot. There's something about just a regular man with a laser rifle being told to charge the horrors of this universe and willingly doing so for his god emperor.
Dude, I like that. Just the regular man going after the horrors of the universe. Regular man with a simple rifle. Millions obviously going after him, but the millions/billions potentially of just regular men, but with a lot of firepower, rockets, artillery, gunships, mechs. I'm digging it. I like the Space Marines, but I'm digging this.
Just poetic. They actually represent the main Imperial Guard tactics pretty well. Large amounts of artillery that doesn't require a line of sight, lots of tanks, tons of infantry, drop troops, and gunships. Overall, they're...
Also, how expensive is it to collect that many troops, especially if you're doing the Imperial Guard? How expensive is it to collect all those little figurines? I'd be curious.
pretty similar to how they sound, though a little bit expensive to collect, unfortunately. And they don't hit a lot.
There you go.
They
He
have
said
a
it.
bit of a
It's
bad
expensive.
aim, but you don't really care because you're just drowning them in shots. However, if you want more accurate fire and specialization, we can move on to talk about Space Marines.
Oh, Space Marines!
The Angels of Death are up next. Space Marines are genetically engineered super soldiers and superhumans. They're given extra organs, their skin tissue is toughened, their bones are stronger, they're taller than the average person. They're pretty massive people, and these are the specialized super soldiers that carry out a lot of the more specific tasks for the Imperium. And there's tons of legions of them. In fact, there's...
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the online of the process for making a Space Marine. It seems pretty insane. And then, of course, playing Space Marine on the video game, saw some of the different legions. I don't know any of the history of the legions, so I'm probably going to do a video of the legions in the future. So let me know if you have any specific videos out there in my comments. Just let me know of any videos. It would be appreciated.
There's one per Primarch. Each Primarch, the Emperor's son, as I mentioned before, oversees their legion of Space Marines. The genetic upgrade they get is based on the genes of said Primarch. It's something called a gene seed. That's what brings them up to this like superhuman level. As stated, each Primarch has their own legion. Robot Girly Man has the Ultramarines.
Girly Man.
Jagatai Khan has the White Scars. Rogel Dorn has...
You know, he says girly man, and everyone everyone doesn't like. I've heard people. I had a buddy who was big into this. I didn't fully fathom what he was saying at the moment, but he was talking about Gulliman, and he said there was a kind of a goody two shoe, and I didn't know what he was talking about. But now that I've watched these things and looked a little into it, Gulliman. He seems like, because I looked a little into him. I just did a little Google search, and he's more of a tactician. He's not the most strongest of the Primarchs, but more of a tactician, I guess. A little more level-headed. I don't know, but I'd love to see more into all of the Primarchs. So.
Has the Imperial Fists, Corvus Corax has the Raven Guard, and there's a whole bunch of other side sections that are also extremely interesting and have a little bit more of a twist on the average Space Marines, which we will discuss in a bit. Humorously enough, I don't have a whole lot to say about Space Marines. They're superhumanly fast. In fact, it's been said that nothing that large should move that quick. These men in power armor moving at blazing fast speeds. Their reflexes are faster. Their skin is tougher.
They're super soldiers.
Overall just extremely powerful soldiers. In fact, where they differ comes down to which Space Marine Legion we're talking about. For instance, the Ultramarines done by Robot Girliman.
Oh, and before he gets into that, but that's what I've heard, is that each of the legions are slightly different from each other based on their Primarch. And each Primarch has slightly different, things that specify what they are. So, yeah, each legion is based on their Primarch, is what I get.
Gilliman are the main blue boys, strong in almost every way.
The Smurfs,
the
as
jack
people
of all
call
trades kind of group that are a little bit too strong, and that's a lore problem. But the White Scars by Jagatai Khan are
These
all
guys
about
look
speed
cool.
freaks, go fast. We're talking attack bikes. We're talking land speeders. You want to go in quick. You want to hit them hard. You want them to be swarming around like buzzflies.
Basically,
buzz
blitzkrieg
saws.
warfare.
With the speed of buzz saws. Fuck you, Pale King. Salamanders love fire. Fire in the forge, fire in battle. Flamers, melta-guns, multi-meltas. Just so long as something can be burning, that's big. And they're also actually some of the nicest of the Space Marines. A lot of Space Marines have this kind of like holier-than-thou thing because of their genetic strength. However, the Salamanders tend to put human lives above the lives of themselves, which is
they're
actually
some of
rather
the
rare.
nicer.
They're also all black, but not like just regular black, like 2 a.m. line at a White Castle.
Oh, wow.
Black. Like they have a charcoal, dark, ashy exterior and blazing red eyes.
I like
Apparently
that.
something about living on their home planet of Nocturne, which I don't know if that makes much sense,
That's
but
so
who
cool.
cares? This is like fantasy land anyway. Overall, Salamanders are actually one of my personal favorite legions because they're just really cool.
I wanna know
They're fun
more about
play
them.
as because of all their flamer weapons, and they have a nice like.
All right, so I mentioned that bad guys are what most people want to play, but honestly, I'm the kind of guy that likes to play the good guy. So if there's something about the Salamanders that makes them more of a good guy, I'd like to hear more about that story. I know, I understand that's kind of silly in the Warhammer universe, but that I got to look into the good faction where I can find it. All right.
Like more heartwarming lore as opposed to being super evil like everyone else is. Oh my god, we're not even a quarter of the way through the Space Marine legions. Imperial Fists believe in the power of the siege and defensive positions. Raven Guards, master of stealth and sabotage while having burn helmets. Iron Hands, masters of machines and vehicles while being really goddamn good at being sold on eBay after one nerf. Space Wolves, Vikings and wolves and tons of wolves and axes, battle axes, fur everywhere.
So what I get is that every Space Marine faction is good at something different. They're all they're all Space Marines and good at, better than any other regular soldier, but they all have something that they are very good at.
Space Wolves, angry, big teeth, Blood Angels, the genetic defect to make them want to drink blood and go crazy, called the Red Thirst. They have Cupid wings and stuff, which is a little bit strange, and they are all super gay for Sanguinius. Dark Angels are old school knights and inner circle theme, and...
Are you a heretic?
What is...
Me? No.
Okay, what is that about? I don't know anything about that. So if you got any information or videos about that, I'd be interesting to know.
Never. Once you
Never.
get a little I know.
Death Watch, fancy pantsy anti-Xeno.
Oh, the Death Watch. So I know about them because of Space Marine 2, because the main character was playing it. He was a Death Watch at the beginning of the game. And I do know that Death Watch are people that are paying for their penances? I don't know. But let me know.
Group that nobody plays because Death Watch, and they look cool though, but no one plays them. I don't know about Death Watch. They're there though. Black Templars, for the people who, if you haven't prayed at least 3 times a day, you're gonna start praying out that airlock. And I'm sure there's some other chapters I may have missed as well, like Crimson Fists and stuff. But those are the main ones right here. Here, quote from the Emperor himself. They shall be my finest warriors, these men who give of themselves to me. Like clay I shall mold them, and in the furnace of war I shall forge them. They shall be of iron will and steely sinew. In great armor I shall clad them, and with the mightiest weapons shall they be armed. They will be untouched by plague or disease, no sickness shall blight them. They shall have such tactics, strategies, and machines that no foe will best them in battle. They are my bulwark against the terror. They are my defenders of humanity. They are my Space Marines, and they shall know no fear. And on the tabletop, they fuck. Oh, they fuck hard.
So what I get is that the Space Marines are the wall, the shield of the Emperor against the most vile and disgusting enemies of the Imperium.
As of making this video, Space Marines are laughably strong. That might change at some point, but overall, Space Marines just have it's like a Swiss Army knife a tool for anything you need, except it's like a gold-plated Swiss Army knife. It is extremely strong. If you are actually getting into the tabletop of Warhammer, Space Marines are a great start. Also, whatever gameplay style you have, whether you want to be sit back with long range and heavy weaponry, go fast and run in, or even just full melee, all of these options are totally there for you. Space Marines are super badass, but unfortunately, it's time we start praying to our new god, the 2011 Honda Civic.
So is it any wonder?
Oh, the Adeptus Mechanicus. All right. I love that explanation of the Space Marines, but he left a lot to be desired, so I will be going into some more Space Marine lore, and anyone in my chat, or sorry, not chat, but anyone watching this video, go into my comments and leave any suggestions you have.
People are afraid of technology.
Technology!
Technology!
The Adeptus Mechanicus. The Adeptus Mechanicus are a technophile cult on Mars. Now, these people are a little bit weird because they don't actually really believe in the Emperor of...
Yeah, so I know a little bit about this from his timeline video, where he described that they worship a mechanical god of some sorts. They replace their human body parts with mechanical body parts, and that is the goal. And they're priests, and they're the ones. They have a treaty with the Imperium, and they are the ones that maintain the technology for the Imperium. That's the way I understand it. It's the only reason why they're allowed to exist, and the Imperium still exists at the same time. So,
mankind. And you might think, oh, whoa, Bricky, that sounds like some heresy.
exactly.
A little bit. They believe in the Emperor, they believe in his power, but they don't pray to him. They pray to something called the Omnissiah. And the Omnissiah is this kind of machine god that they believe permeates in...
I know about the Omnissiah because in Darktide, Warhammer Darktide, you have to, when you go to fix your weapons or repair them or upgrade them, you go to the Omnissiah. So that makes sense now.
all machines. And if you think, well, wait a minute, they believe in a different god as well? That sounds like super heresy. Well, yes-ish, but they also make all your guns, and they make all your tanks, and they make everything that you have.
Yep.
So you can't really tell them to fuck off.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to win nothing if you don't got stuff to shoot people with. See, their Omnissiah at least makes sense from their standpoint. They believe it to be a deity that permeates through all machines. Your Honda Civic, your standard bolt gun, your
Honda Civic.
Dune Strider Walker, your giant mechs, your huge ships. The Omnissiah is present through all. And the only reason your stuff works is because the machine's spirit in it says it works. If you want your gun to work...
So do they believe the machine spirit works is the Emperor, or works in concert with the Emperor, or I'm curious how that works. But yeah, that's interesting.
Work your tank to run, you must pray to it. And I mean full stop. You need to start chanting in high Gothic. You need to burn incense. You need to sit on your knees and pray to that car. You need to rub oil on your robes, and you need to go ahomina, homina, 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 homina. Full stop. If you want your damn thing to work, if you want your gun to fire, you need to do that. They are very bizarre, and they actually have a bit of a point because it's obviously working. And if you look at them, I don't know how that works, so they obviously know something about what they're doing. The most notable member of the Adeptus Mechanicus is Magos, whatever, Belisarius Call. Look at this dude. Look at this dude. Yeah, this is the...
I've heard that name before, but I know nothing about him. So I'd love to hear more. This faction seems very weird, very crazy, replacing body parts with machinery, but on purpose? That's insane to me.
The group we're talking about. These are these weirdos. Here, the Omnissiah Creed. The credo.
Oh, let's hear this.
Omnissiah. There is no truth in flesh, only betrayal. There is no strength in flesh, only weakness. There is no constancy in flesh, only decay. There is no certainty in flesh, but death. Flesh is weakness, flesh is death. The Omnissiah is the god of the machines, and if you wish to be whole, if you wish to be holy, if you wish to give unto him, you must saw down your limbs and remove your organs and replace them with mechanical parts,
Holy
because that is
shit.
what he wants, and that is how you will become enlightened. Hard technophiles mixed with religious
That
extremism.
is insane.
That is Mechanicus. Now, for their army side of things, they are with the...
So I never had anything to do with the army. In Space Marine 2, all you get is their priests, and in Darktide, you barely deal with them. But yeah, if they've got an army, that's crazy.
Skitarii. The Skitarii operate with very bizarre weaponry and lots of different kinds of vehicles, tanks, and different people in between. They're very weird, but they have extremely wacky and enjoyable, and in fact quite effective both
Interesting.
in the real game and in the lore, weaponry and gear. Overall, as an army on the tabletop, they're very weird and have a whole bunch of different shenanigans, but if you like kind of that quirky, wacky techno thing, I'd give them a pickup. Hell, they're so paranoid. I gotta keep going. They're so paranoid and crazy. These Dune Striders you see right here, one guy was able to make them work. One guy, and he died. And they're so scared they'll never work again that they keep them on and they never turn them off, and they run around in a circle the whole time until they need them, and then they corral it and they go into battle.
Wow. So this shows the regression of technology, that certain technologies they can't recreate, so they're so unwilling to let it shut down. Oh, that is insane.
Yep.
Yep.
The
That's
Adeptus
crazy.
Mechanicus. Now, if you want to talk about faith, though, let's talk
No.
about the Sisters of Battle.
Ooh.
A simp has fallen for an eagle in Lego City.
The Sisters of Battle of the Adeptus Sororitas, if that's how I pronounce it correctly, is an all-female group of battle sisters going through the
Lady.
ecclesiarchy section of the Imperium. The ecclesiarchy is, of course, the church. This is, imagine a...
So they're ladies of the church. Let's see how this goes.
private army of the church, which is scary, and it is. The sisters
Yeah.
are an extremely zealotous force, and they take this to a full extreme. They believe in three main things: faith, martyrdom, and fire. Through the Bolter, the Flamer, and the Melta, the Sisters of Battle are extremely potent at taking out chaos and
my.
heretics. Mainly heretics, because as they are a fighting section of the Ecclesiarchy Church, that's the big thing they want to kill. Any form of heretic will face the Emperor's justice through those three main weapons: the Bolter, the Flamer, and the Melta, and they will do so with extreme prejudice. Literally. They are the
Holy
closest
shit.
things we have to nuns in space. And I'm talking hardcore nuns. They carry holy fire
Fiery.
on their backs. They have holy
Fiery
books
nuns
and
of
sigils
retribution.
all across their armor. Their main battle tank is a fucking pipe organ missile launcher. They have small babies that they have like removed their brain capacity to make them little servant
Wow.
cherubs to fly around and give them ammunition and shit. They drop churches from low orbit as mini drop pods onto battles. They drop churches into battles, and they blare war hymns and holy music from their frigates in low atmosphere
Wow.
and shower holy water across.
Wow, that image right there. Holy shit. Oh, man, these ladies, they hit hard. Dude, I didn't know they had something like this in Warhammer. Dude, that's awesome. They are archangels of destruction.
The battlefield. These are the people you are dealing with, and they're fucking awesome. They can literally stave off demons on the
I can see that.
tabletop because their faith is that strong. Remember the warp, the demons from the warp?
Yeah.
Well, the warp also manifests in your mind. All of your emotions, negative and positive, go through the warp. It's the immaterium, the place of all things. So if you are that mentally fortified, that mentally strong, you can stave off horrifying demons. And all these girls, oh, not a crack. Not a crack in that mental armor. Now, as much as a meme as they are, and
these badass women, you know, I'd love to see if they ever did a 40K show or movie. Bring these women in, please. Be freaking awesome.
as much as their models look a lot like Ongo Gabloglian, yeah, which I can't unsee anymore, I gotta say, I love their design. I think they're extremely cool. They're another army that I'm currently collecting. They just released a whole new line of figures very recently, and they look wonderful. Everything...
Dude, that pipe organ thing, the fact that they have a pipe organ tank that shoots missiles, that is ridiculous. All right. That's so sweet.
From Celestine, the living, literally undying saint, from the triumph of Saint Catherine, which is literally a funeral procession as a model, those organ tanks I mentioned earlier. This shit is the most over-the-top badassery in a lot of the Warhammer universe, and goddamn it is it over the top. But Sisters of Battle are so cool. While I'm a guardsman at heart, oh, this is such a cool faction.
I could see that.
Shell, Flamer
Yeah, I could see that.
Melta Blast, the mutant, the heretic, and the traitor alike are cleansed of their sin of existence. So it has been for 5 millennia, so shall it be until the end of time. And speaking of burning demons.
Uh-oh.
I can see!
Ooh, the Grey Knights?
The Grey Knights are the first army I actually collected.
Are they Space Marines? They look like Space Marines. All right, let's hear what you guys say.
Back in 7th edition. The Grey Knights are a super secretive and much more old school look at power armored knights, except they are all psychers. All of them have that crazy space magic magician.
Psyker.
For every 100,000 guardsmen, there's 1 Grey Knight. For every 10,000 Sisters of Battle, there's 1 Grey Knight. For every 1,000 Space Marines, there's 1 Grey Knight. Grey Knights are the strongest of the strong, both in mental will and absolute just strength. These are Space Marines that are all high-level psychers, all of them able to specifically do one goal, and that is kill demons. The Emperor believed that the demons of chaos were the #1 threat to the Imperium, and he probably is right. However, this group is entirely based on doing that through a myriad of tactics. Coming from the planet, or I guess the moon of Titan in the Sol system, the Grey Knights are thrown through extremely rigorous training and are as clear of mind and soul as they possibly can be. Since the demons of the warp are the warp and your mind projects to the warp, people can go insane very fast, especially lower level psychers. These Grey Knights need to be able to harness the warp in the presence of demons and stay perfectly sane. One of their characters, one of my favorite characters, is named Castellan Crow.
The art in this universe is fucking amazing. I don't know how other way to say it. Is it stuff they put in the books, or is it just art they put online? I don't know. It's crazy.
Crow. He has a demon blade, the black blade of Mahamahama. And he has to have it on him because it tempts everyone nearby, constantly beckoning them. Use my power, use my strength, suck my penis, whatever the possibility. And so he has to keep it on him all the time as this thing whispers to him consistently.
That's crazy.
And he has to stave it off forever, being alone in his chambers, or on the battlefield, because anyone who gets too close to it might be tempted a little too hard. He is that pure of heart and mind, and all the characters in the Grey Knights are basically like that. The only issue is that Grey Knights have a scorched earth policy, more ways than one.
They
If
destroy
they're fighting
everything?
demons corrupt and make people crazy. So if I'm a guardsman and I'm fighting demons and the Grey Knights arrive and they kill all the demons, I'm a risk.
So they kill me.
Guess who's not making it out of there? On the
Well
tabletop,
then.
they're very strike fast, strike hard kind of people. They teleport all around the place. They are fast strike groups, small amounts of models because they're so dang strong. You only have so many characters, but with it, you get in there, you're very tough, very tanky, you hit really hard, and you try to bounce around the battlefield quickly, but you don't have numbers, and so every dead Grey Knight hits really damn hard. They're fun, though, if you like that kind of fast striking kind of army. Oh, and also, Caldor Drago is a thing. We're not even going to get into Caldor Drago. All right, that is, oh my goodness gracious. I am the hammer. I am the male about his fist.
What is there to know about Drago? I'd like to know more. If you've got any videos out there about Drago, let me know. I want to know more about him. I don't like it just left at just that, but yeah, I'd like to know more.
I am the spear in his hand. Though we are lost, I am the shield on his arm. I am the flight of his arrows. I am the hammer. I am the sword. I am the shield. I am a soldier at the battle at the end of time. Grey Knights are pretty hardcore. They are as holy as you can get for a Space Marine. If you like Space Marines and you want to, that they're holy enough, you want to be holier, Grey Knights. Now, if you want to be holier and big, let's talk Imperial Knights.
Ooh.
Do you like gigantic walkers the size of homes?
Yes.
Or medium-sized buildings?
Yes.
Do you want to kill heretics, but you want to kill like 40 of them
Yes.
per turn? Do you want a gigantic, old-school knight noble house style of walkers?
Yes.
With giant chainsaw arms?
Yes.
You got Imperial Knights.
Yes.
Imperial Knights, it's not a whole lot to talk about them because they're just gigantic walkers, but they have this old-school, like, house feel to them. Like, literally, like, they're houses. Each Imperial...
I want to know more about this. Well, he'll get into it, but I want to know about these walkers. Freaking awesome. Mechs. Giant mechs. How can you not like that?
Knight comes from a house, and each of them act in their own special way. These behemoth of walkers also destroy almost everything in their path, killing full swaths of squads in a couple shots, stepping on legions of troops. Like, these things do not mess around, and they look so cool. Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights, actually, for that matter, don't have a whole lot to discuss. They're just super big, heavy walkers, and they look different depending on your house or chaos god you currently believe in. And overall, these things are just really cool if you want to murder everything in your path. They're the big, scary, big unit of Warhammer, and if you want to collect them, go to town. They make for a great painting project, too. Getting more back down to earth, let's talk something about a little bit different, a little more old.
Gold!
If guardsmen are regular soldiers, Space Marines are super soldiers, Grey Knights are super soldiers, the Adeptus Custodes are super soldiers cubed. The Adeptus Custodes are the third major army I own.
So these are, if it was acquainted to Rome, these are the Praetorians of the 40K universe. If I'm wrong, let me know.
I know, 3 armies. I know, I got carried away, okay? But that's all. I only have 3, okay? They are our final brand of Space Marines, but these ones are super special, okay? If a guardsman is 6 foot...
So do these Marines or Space Marines, or if they're even considered Space Marines, do they have their own Primarch? Or are they directly descended from the Emperor? Let me know.
A Space Marine is 7 feet, a Custodian is 8 feet. These are the giant defenders of Holy Terra which is also Earth. Earth is Terra.
Yeah, Terra is Earth.
Themselves. These are the people that literally guard the Emperor's throne room, hence Custodes. These boys protect the Emperor's throne room at all times and are literally like handcrafted people. They're not humans brought up by a gene seer or something. These are all handcrafted super soldiers. I think from a tube. These behemoth of men
Good
are
grief.
like 8 feet, 8.5 feet tall, and functionally immortal. They stand still,
Oh, they look so epic.
hundreds of years without the need to sleep and barely even the need to eat, watching over
Holy
the throne
shit.
room.
They can go hundreds of years without rest? Fuck.
And every other area of Holy Terra for their entire purpose in life. And oh my lord, are they terrifying. These custodians put Space Marines to shame. If you liked your super soldiers, these are your super mega soldiers. One of these men can take on probably 3 Space Marines and most likely win. There are many different groups of custodians as well, like the Solar Watch, or there's also one of my personal favorite, the Aquilon Shield. The Aquilon Shield go out to seemingly
That looks like the Praetorians, because they had purple. Not that it matters, but just letting y'all know.
important individuals and protect them because they believe that they are going to be doing something very important in their lives. For instance, let's say a regular guardsman gets the protection of this giant 8.5 foot tall golden god because that guardsman will end up becoming a general one day or something of that nature. The custodians work in mysterious ways and are almost always outnumbered but never outmatched.
Is it just me, or does that in the background there look like a giant helmet and face? That's pretty cool. And then you got the Custodes. That's sweet.
These people are pretty horrifying, both on the tabletop as well as in the lore. There are very few of them, however, and there's actually an extremely small amount of them. But that's kind of the point. There's only so many of these people that can have war gear this strong, weapons this powerful, and training this good. And the Custodians have all 3 of it. For 100 years, I stood my watch amidst the somber shadows of the Sanctum Imperialis. I was still as a statue, but always ready, always attuned to dangers unseen. Days, months, years passed by in a frenzied blur beyond those walls, yet within, little moved and nothing changed. For 100 years, I did not but wait, yet had any threat appeared, I would have struck it down in a heartbeat. For 100 years, I stood my watch, and as it ends, I can tell you this: patience is a weapon.
Dude, that is sick. So he, 100 years, stood watch, motionless. Other than eating food, stood motionless. That is insane. That is awesome.
Custodians are the top dogs of the Imperium, and they hurt just that same way. Though I do want to discuss a little bit about the Sisters of Silence before we get out of here, because the Sisters of Silence I also have a few of, and they're really fun, but they don't get enough attention. These kind of bald plume ladies are a whole group of pariahs, or also known as blanks. We'll be referring to them as blanks from now on. So as every mind is somewhat connected to the warp, these blanks are a genetic mutation that has it suppressed heavily. Because of that mind suppression, normal people feel this weird, like, uncomfortable nature when around them. When a Sister of Silence walks past them, you feel ill. You feel just uncomfortable and strange. So most of them don't actually live past childhood.
So they can't talk, but they have a psychic connection to anyone around them. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that sounds fucking ridiculous.
Because once they are birthed, they're, well, you know, killed or something at a very young age because they just emit a horrifying aura. These ladies, however, are guardians of the throne as well for more psychic threats. See, none of the custodians are psychers, so they have a difficult time dealing with major demons and other kinds of psychic phenomena. These sisters are extremely specialized in it, all of them taking a vow of silence as they don't speak, hence the terms.
So wait, so the Custodes, the ones that are the kind of the Praetorian Guard, they're there for physical threats. These mute ladies are there to defend against the psychic threat. That sounds pretty cool. They're covering their bases. I mean, but yeah.
Sisters of Silence, but they communicate through hand gestures and things of that nature. But if there's a demon issue, if there's any kind of warp-based problem, the sisters are extremely adept at dealing with them, thanks to their blank gene.
Chores look different with Cox multi-gig speeds.
They normally work a lot of
That
times
sounds
with
awesome.
the custodians because they have to deal with both kinds of threats, but they're not represented that way on the tabletop. In fact, they only have like one real model for them, which is very unfortunate. I hope they'll get some like news soon because I think they should really be working together as it is that way in the lore, but hopefully we'll get there soon. But if we're talking about blanks, let's talk assassins.
Ooh. The assassins. Nice.
It's been a long video. We're about to round it out. We got this and one more human thing, and then we're done. The assassins, though, the Officio Assassinorum. Oh boy, these people are deadly. Yeah, they're called assassins. They should be, but oh man, these people will mess you up. So these are from the Officio Assassinorum, a very special organization, and they are handpicked by the Grand Master of the Officio Assassinorum from the what was it called? Schola Progenium. It's basically an orphan school. Your parents got murdered by demons or something. You get sent to this and you get trained to be whatever. Tempestus Drop Troop, an Inquisitor, maybe even. Maybe you get a blank gene and you get thrown into the Sisters of Silence. Or sometimes you just disappear. When you are taken, however, you go to one of four temples because the Assassinorum works in the temple style of things. These temples are the Vindicare, Caluxus, Calidus, and Eversor temples. Let's start with the Vindicare. I'm far away. I've been sitting here for 3 weeks. Poof! The Vindicare temple
So they're snipers.
is the main sniper-based temple.
But
gigantic sniper rifles for all these assassins. Their whole point is to be able to be in a spot and sit there, eye and scope, for weeks, waiting for the perfect target, taking people out from literal miles.
I'm in the military. And I understand manning your post, but weeks? Holy shit.
Miles away after extremely long time periods. The Vindicare Temple is about precise, perfect aim. There have been reports of Vindicares being able to single out particular body parts from over 2-3 miles away. Temples in the head, the jugular, for instance, and been sitting there after weeks. And when they're ready, take that shot. Time is done. Packs them up. The Calidus Temple, however, is a lot more about shape-shifting and deviant art. It's mostly a female-based one, or at least it seems to be, and this allows a lot of body augmentation for certain individuals to be able to kind of transmorph themselves and infiltrate areas that are problems. These assassins will end up taking missions that take them years, 2-3 years, to infiltrate a heretical group and slowly work their way up.
So getting into a group, infiltration. Okay, I get it.
Into the main target's head and then escape unharmed. Or become the main target and sabotage it from within. These are all completely about deception, mind tricks, polymorphing, and everything in between. And lots of drawings. Lots of drawings.
Wow.
The Eversor Temple. Just kind of disturbing one. The Eversor Temple is about when you don't want anything to come back alive, friend or foe. You want it all dead. An Eversor is psychogenically conditioned with just psychotherapy and psychological torture to only feel violence, hatred, and anger. It does the Clockwork Orange style of thing of just making you forced to watch.
So send him in to kill everything? A super soldier that's been conditioned to just go in and kill everything. I get. Yeah, that's okay.
Never-ending pain and misery and psycho conditioning, I guess is the term. And then they pump you full of tons of psychedelic drugs. And they cryo-freeze you. and then they drop you in an area where they just want to make sure everything is dead. And then
Yeah, I
you
get that.
defrost
That's
full of
shit.
just all this insane, mind-boggling psychotherapy and psychedelic drugs, and you just go to town. Yeah, if you don't care if anyone comes back alive. You're like, all right, lost cause. And finally,
Holy
there's the most
shit.
bizarre temple, the Caluxus Temple.
The
The Caluxus
Caluxus.
assassins are
Okay.
feared even among the other temples. So that blank gene, the people will go to the Caluxus Temple with this as well. And this is where they can harness that to be massively anti-psyker or even just anti-regular people. They are seen
Okay.
with extreme fear and distrust among many, many people. They are described by the Eldar by quote as being pure evil. Imagine that
Pure
uncomfortable
evil?
feeling from that blank gene I mentioned, and then imagine them being taught and given equipment to amplify it by 100. If normally regular people feel uncomfortable, now they are basically akin to being a siren wailing directly in your ear. And if you're a psyker, oh no. The sheer presence of a Caluxus assassin is enough for you to tear your skin
Holy
off. You will
shit.
rather gouge your eyes out and rip your nails off than even being near this person. The Caluxus assassin is when you want psychers to
Holy fuck. These assassins are nightmare. Holy shit. All right. We're getting to a new universe here. All right, let's go.
literally lose their minds, and they will go on their knees and ask you to gun them down because it is a suitable choice over being anywhere near you. The motto of that temple is, "That which is unknown and unseen commands the greatest fear." Now, for the tabletop, assassins aren't that special. You can call them in no matter what Imperium faction you are, and they do a lot of work for themselves, but at the same time, they're very specialized and require a lot of finesse. And they work the way you generally want them to, though. You want to cause some distortion and weird stuff, you take a Calidus. You want to just murder swaths of infantry and then blow up Eversor. You want to kill that one guy, Vindicare, and if you have a lot of Psychers, Caluxus. It's a nice little, like, jack of all trades if you have a specific thing you want to
Interesting.
kill. And you get to choose which is really fun. But now, let's talk about the last human faction. We can round this video out before we do part 2. The Inquisition.
Oh!
We have a lot to talk about with them.
Okay, so Inquisition. Playing in Darktide. I have Warhammer Darktide. Will you play as a prisoner who has been, I wouldn't say rehabilitated, but is coerced into serving the Inquisition? And you go in and fight demons, basically, in that game. But I want to hear some more about this.
On the subject of heresy!
Oh boy.
Heresy?
Where do I even begin with the Inquisition? Take every secret police you can think of. The KGB, the Gestapo, the CIA, FBI, any of these kinds of people.
Okay.
And then mark it up by about 10 and give them the most power in the entire
Oh,
Imperium.
no.
No, you know what? How about this? This right here, it's not just a quote. This is the Imperial motto. The motto
no.
of the
I want to hear this.
Inquisition.
Holy shit.
I apologize for my bad
Yeah, bring it.
pronunciation. Innocentia nihil probat. Innocence proves nothing. The most powerful organization in the Imperium,
Holy
the
fuck.
secret police.
Innocence proves nothing. So that means they don't give a shit. If they think you're guilty, they're going to make you guilty. Holy shit.
Their number one motto is innocence proves nothing. The Inquisition goes around like the secret police or like detectives to find issues in the Imperium. And they have different ordos depending on which one we're talking about. The Ordo Hereticus, the Ordo Xenos, the Ordo Malleus, for instance, and a whole bunch of other ones. Hereticus is obvious, they deal with heretics. Xenos tries to find alien threats, and Malleus is demons. They all have different specializations in what they're trying to go for as this Inquisitor. And that's what they're called, Inquisitors. Each of them, as an Inquisitor, has their own free reign to do as they wish. They may have a ship and a crew, and they go out to find problems and interrogate people a lot. They are above the law in every department over Space Marines. Now, the Space Marines might argue against them and stuff, and there might be a lot of blow.
So basically, they are the secret police of the Emperor. Although the Emperor probably wouldn't condone this, but that's interesting.
Back, but technically they are above them as Inquisitors. They are looking to investigate and figure out coups and cults and demonic incursions and possible Xenos issues like gene stealers or a new threat coming into an area. They're about learning that stuff and actually doing detective work. And memes aside, they're pretty good at it. The Inquisition having all of this power does make them a little bit power hungry and frantic sometimes. And yes, it is still a bad thing, but most of them are pretty good at their job. And they spend a lot of time being very diligent to make sure that all of these leads they follow are proper and correct. They're basically space detectives with just enormous power.
So in Warhammer Darktide, the way I get with, because you're kind of working for the for them, the Inquisition, it seems like you're searching for enemies, or there's any hint of like, so in that game you're searching for a chaos incursion. So you're looking and you're searching in a major hive city for them. So I don't know if it means they're totally bad, or if they get on the wrong path and look at the wrong thing, they could implicate you, regardless if you want to be implicated. And then at that point, you're dead. But all right.
And sometimes a bit of a power complex. And we haven't even talked about Exterminatus yet. Exterminatus.
Ooh.
Exterminatus is deeming a planet unfit to be saved. I deem that this planet is demon infested, and taking it back will cost too many resources and is not worth it. I have now committed Exterminatus on this planet. I will now sign the death warrant of an entire Imperium planet, as it is unfit to take and better to be destroyed than allow the enemy to hold it. This can mean saturation bombardment. This can mean cracking the planet's core and breaking it apart. Doesn't matter. Render this planet inhospitable to all life. Yes, the innocence proves nothing people are the only people who can choose this planet must die.
Destroying an entire planet.
Yeah, you're playing the villain. Now, it is memed a lot, but most Inquisitors are very rare to do Exterminatus. Exterminatus is a very crazy thing. There's only so many worlds that you don't want to destroy all of them. Now, naturally, with the memes aside, there are some people who are a little bit rough on this one. But most Inquisitors generally don't like to do Exterminatus.
If you know what that's about, let me know. Put it in the comments. I appreciate it.
A ton, but it is an option they have, and it's a crazy option when you think about it. Secret Police Inquisition are unfortunately not represented on the tabletop very much. You generally kind of put one in your army if you feel like it. You have a couple special options there and some side content, but they're not really fleshed out very well, and personally they need a lot more stuff put in there, and they really need a lot more effort put into them, and they're not quite where I want them to be. Overall, the Inquisition makes for a lot of the best storytelling as well, because it's a little bit hard to talk about a big story of a whole bunch of Space Marines killing something, right? It's just a big battle story. Yeah. It's not as interesting.
Playing Darktide has been amazing. You feel like you're just a peon playing the part in the major, the war that's going on.
That intrigue and that moral dilemma that an Inquisitor has makes for a lot better media. And honestly, the more people do it, I think it's better, because then it adds a little more humanity to the Warhammer horrible, horrible grim darkness. And wow, we just finished the humans. All right, come back for part 2 when we talk about Chaos and Xenos, because we got
I will be
talk
back.
about 4 Chaos Gods and all the Chaos Marine Legions and the Tau and the Necrons and the Orcs, and oh boy, we got a lot. I'll see you in part 2.
All right, guys. We will see you next time. That was awesome. I'm going to do a lot more of these. If you have descriptions or links to videos you want to give me, give it in the comments. I appreciate it. We're going to do this once or twice a week. I'm going to be doing a deep dive of the lore. So anything you can provide me, I appreciate. But I also am a gamer, so check out my channel. I do been gaming a lot of stuff. You can check out my playlist for all the games I played in the past. I'm currently playing Starship Troopers Extermination. I'm also playing Space Marine 2 and Warcraft Darktide. Sorry, Warhammer Darktide. So if you like what I do, give me a like, follow, subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. And until next time, see ya!